Hey everyone, so have you ever imagined what Valorant would have looked like in a cyberpunk world? Well, I did, and I wanted to make it happen inside Blender 3D. Imagine neon lights, dark alleyways, and futuristic vibes. Pure cyberpunk, right? Stick around and I will show you how I turned this idea into a cinematic scene. Chapter 1: The Idea. So it all started with a question in my mind, like what if I take off the Valorant's stylized look and replace it with something cyberpunkish? So with this idea in my mind, I started sketching out all the ideas, and I have to take a lot of help from the internet for searching reference images because I did not had Valorant installed in my PC, and also I had never played it in my entire life. But yes, I had seen people playing it, so I had a little idea about it. So yeah, after searching for about 10 to 20 minutes, I came up with these images. So these were the images I selected from the internet, and in this one I liked the textures, like how they are in this one, little detailed, and this one I do not know why I chose it. And this one is going to be my main reference. I will just try to replicate pretty much this scene, like the three buildings, the crates, and also the floor. So yeah. So with the concept part done, let's move into the next part, that is modeling the environment. Well, I knew this was going to be the most complex and the most lengthiest part in this whole project, and as I was new to modeling, it took me around 1.5 days just to model the whole scene. I started with a rough block out of both the buildings and as well as the ground. And then I started modeling the crate, and after modeling the crate, I started giving some details to the first building, and after completing this process, I started modeling the gate of the second building. And since I was beginner at modeling this gate was little bit tricky for me, but at last I did it somehow. Now to make the ground, I just used a really simple process. What I did here, I just modeled one tile and then I just used two array modifiers to place it all over the plane. Now after modeling the ground and as well as the third building, the modeling part is almost finished. Now let's move into the next part, which is my favorite and also the most interesting part, called texturing. To make the texturing process easier, I always use a plugin called Blender Kit, and it's a free plugin. Although the models here most of the models are paid, but most of the texture here are completely free. So for the texturing part, I will highly recommend this plugin. I started by adding a brick texture, and then I just did some texture painting to make this plaster peeled off kinda effect. And after spending a lot of time on texturing, this is what it looked like. And well, the texture setup is little bit messy, but it is really simple. I just used two masks, one for the plaster peel off effect and other for those black ambient occlusion effect. I also added a board in front of the gate as there was one in the reference image. Now for the second building, I simply added a wooden texture to it and also placed a graffiti on center of it. Now for the bullet holes, I simply used a PNG and imported it as images as planes, and with shrink wrap modifier on it, I duplicated it few times around the door to get that effect. Now I wanted the floor to be wet so that it can have some reflections on it, and to achieve that, I simply used a color ramp and a noise texture in between the roughness of the principal BSDF, and it worked pretty well. Now as the texturing part is done, it's time to create the weapon and its animations. For the weapon, I just wanted to have this pistol in the scene, and luckily I found a 3D model of this gun from this video. You can check out this video if you want to get all the characters and all the models of Valorant, then do check out this video. It's really awesome. But this model had a problem, like it had everything perfectly fine, like all the textures and everything, but the problem here was like I did not wanted the original textures because it is kinda stylized, and as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to take off the stylized look, so I decided to retexture it using Photoshop. Retexturing this weapon was a very simple process. What I did here was really simple. I just took the color map of the gun's 3D model and then I just did some painting on it using Photoshop. It took a little time for me to do it, but at the end the results were pretty good. Now it was time for the animation. Animating the hands was very simple process. I just keyframed and moved some bones here and there and the work was pretty much done. Well, this was pretty much everything I did for this project, and this is now what the final render looks like.